Welcome to Something to Talk About here at King's. This is the holiday season, and a lot of us welcome in the season with Christmas trees and Christmas carols and all of the other things that come along with the holiday season. But on Guam, there is a tradition, and especially it is a tradition of the Torres family and other ladies of related families who have been carrying out a promise from generations now. And for the first time, I actually have them all in one table. I've done this story before, but I wanted to really bring in other people. Laura Souter, I've talked to her about this before. Mrs. Gutierrez, I've interviewed you years ago about the tending to of our patroness on Guam, Santa Marian Kamalen, which is, we celebrate on December 8th. And the generations now have grown up to include Mrs. G's daughter, Hannah Gutierrez Arroyo. And so I'm really happy that all of you are here at the same time to talk about this incredible tradition. This is like something that you hold so dear to your heart. Mrs. Gutierrez, let me just start with you. What does this mean, this tradition, and how did it start?
Well, it's difficult for me to say how it started because, you know, our family goes back many, many years with this devotion to Santa Marian Kamalen and being tasked with the care of the statue itself. But from what I remember as a little girl growing up, I know that our family has always been, this December 8th devotion has always been the highlight of our obligations and our duties. If anybody was planning to go anywhere, or you got to be home for December 8th. You're not ever away for December 8th. And my personal responsibility with the statue of Santa Marian Kamalen is the keeping of her and taking care of her hair and her physical appearance, her touch-ups, and so that's always been my responsibility, and I always take it very seriously, and I make sure that she always looks absolutely beautiful. Yeah. She always glows with all the gold on her.
There is something, Lolling, there is something about this tradition that every woman in the family, and what are the family names that are associated with her care? And you talk about a promesa. Can you start with that?
Sure. Well, from what we know of history, the Torres women in our family, dating back to Francisco de Torres' time, were asked by the Catholic priest in Agana to take care of Santa Marian Kamalen, to make sure that she was properly adorned, dressed, cleaned, and presentable during the procession. So the tradition as we know it has dated back hundreds of years, as far back maybe as the 1700s. Okay, wow. So when Santa Marian Kamalen was brought to Hagatna, the Torres family women were asked to care for her. What we know experientially is, as what Jerry shared, is that from the time of our birth, it's always been an integral part of our family celebration and our family obligation in life.
You told me one year that you wrote that into your vows, that your husband had to agree to this as
that we would come home every year annually, because this was our promesa. So this, as Jerry says, is not negotiable. You know, whatever family trips you're planning, wherever you plan to be, make sure that you're here, that you're home for Santa Marian Kamalen. For those of us who lived away for a while, we flew home every year, no matter where we were. This is sacred. This is a sacred promise. But now the younger generations, Hannah's generation, and even younger, they're already beginning to, they're brought in as babies, really, into the room so that they can begin to touch Santa Maria and be comfortable with the tradition. And then as they get older, you know, 2 and 3 years old, they begin to have a little role to play, whether it's cleaning her jewelry.
That's
or
usually the first task.
The first thing.
The first task is the jewelry cleaning.
So Hannah, you're like a relative newcomer compared to your mom and Laura. So you've got.
She's been involved since birth.
But yes, it's a little girl.
For a long time. For 25 years.
But relative to the time that they've spent in their lifetime, you're a newcomer. But you also have. I mean, you have 2 granddaughters as well. So. The tradition carries. The tradition carries. So, what's your earliest memory?
My earliest memory of this is honestly maybe being 3, and just being there. Then there's a photo of me in my Damas blue dress. I think I have a bouquet in one hand and a bottle in the other, and I must have been like a year and a half. I don't remember that, but there's a photo. But maybe about 3 years old, I remember being in there and didn't have a job yet, but actually, no, I take that back. My first memory is my mom said she cares for the hair.
Right.
So starting several days before December 8th, she gets the special hair that Santa Marian Kamalen wears on December 8th and sets it on a bust, on a mannequin head. They used to scare us, but it didn't scare us when the hair was on it. But otherwise, but that's my earliest memory is my mom
tending to the hair,
curling her hair several days ahead of time, putting it on the mannequin head, pinning it, wrapping it with a scarf, and letting it set for a few days, and then combing it out and doing that. So that, I don't know how much I was a help, but I was there, hands-on, touching it. But
when did it, for you, make a change? When was the transition between it being a job in training that was task-oriented to part of the promesa?
For me, probably early high school, I think. That's
Maybe
when
earlier than that.
Huh?
Maybe earlier than that.
I mean, that's...
When you became aware.
When I was always aware that it was an important family thing, and we took that seriously. And like Auntie Lo said, the only time I've ever missed a December 8 is if I was taking a college final or a law school final off island. Otherwise, we made it home for this. But when it became something ingrained with me, it was probably very early teens. And then it came time for confirmation, and I chose Cameron as my confirmation name because that was that was part of my, part of the tradition that I took. I mean, that I took that very seriously. That I was a camarera, and so it's been. Was it different for you, Mrs. Gutierrez, in your family, because you didn't necessarily have your mother guiding you through this process, and that all of the training came from the women in your family?
Yes,
was there a little bit of a difference for you, maybe?
I don't know that there's a difference. I know that from stories I hear from my Nana Torres and Mama Tita, how my mother, who incidentally is a convert, she converted just before she married my father.
Wow.
And how she took that responsibility so seriously, and it was such a dear thing to her. Mama Tita used to tell me, she says, Yagaw, Santa Maria is so heavy, and your mother carried her. She carried her when we were in Padug, in the ranch, and when they were marching, she carried her. She says, I don't know how Hannah managed it because, she's not that big of a person, but she carried that statue, and Mama Tita used to tell me such beautiful, beautiful stories of my mother and her love and her devotion to Santa Marian Kamalen.
Was it also different for you, Lo, when you were growing up? When did it, like with Hannah, was there a transition where it was a task as compared to?
Mom, who was the camarera for 72 years.
Amazing.
Yes, it is amazing, isn't it?
Mama Tita Sauter.
Mama Tita Sauter. And Auntie Chong, before she got married, Mom's older sister, and Nana had taken care of Santa Maria before that. But then Mom took the responsibility on pretty seriously and guided all of us through the process. But we just, through storytelling, that we were constantly being told how important Santa Maria was in our family life, how important the promesa was, that whatever we did, we had to always come and serve Santa Maria so that we could show her how much we loved her son, so that was always the frame, right? Well, we're doing the same thing now. We're constantly, every year, we gather all the girls in our family together and we tell them the stories, and so that they're connected to a history. And Patty, one of the shared memories that I most remember and that sustains me when I'm away from Guam, for example, is that when we prepare Santa Maria to be ready to meet her people, right? And it's such a privilege, it really is. It's such an honor and a privilege. But to hold her base, right? And to know that women in our family for generations have held her in the same way is such a feeling of connectedness that is so powerful, and it's such a gift and that's we always.
That's the point where we always cry.
We always cry,
Right
and we
before we're
always
gonna
thank
send her
God
out.
because we're connected with our ancestors, with our female ancestors, and that's such a powerful thing in Chamorro culture, you know. So this is it's a real. I know that these traditions of caring for statues is worldwide, wherever Catholic communities exist, but for us, it's also a Chamorro tradition of the matrilineage and the connecting with that female bond.
And if you see on December 8th, there are women who are at the base of the Crossa and crying in silent prayer, who keep vigil as long as she's out there and available for viewing to the public. There is a process bringing her down from the niche, and there are other families. They have defined roles in this. When we come back from the
also promesas, they make promesas.
Okay, and so when we after the break, come back, we'll talk a little bit about other family roles, and then I just want you, if you could, to give us an insight into what physically happens, what's the logistics that you can share with people who will probably never be able to see this process take place. We'll be right back on Something to Talk About. This is such an important day in the history of Guam that we've even had it acknowledged by the government of Guam that it is a holiday for our local government, and the and the amount of people, I know there's something in there, but I'm not going to do it. And the amount of people that come to the Organic Cathedral Basilica on December 8th. This year's on a Saturday. Okay, and so first of all, before we skip over this part, there was a time that she was not in residence at the Cathedral Basilica. Well, before it was the Basilica, but at the Cathedral. And so what happened to her during the war?
Well, as we all know, war broke out on the day of December 8th for Guam, which is the 7th in Hawaii.
Right.
And in those days, the processions took place early in the morning. The whole island had first communicants, and it was such a big day. And that's when
Bishop Olana.
Yeah. And then that's when war broke out. They were setting up for the procession when they got word that, Hawaii had been bombed
and Sumai.
And well, not quite yet. Sumai. My father was still in Sumai.
Yeah.
They had evacuated all the Americans and never said anything to the local people. Anyway, my aunt, Mama Tita, and Auntie Chong, and several other of I don't know if they were. I'm not quite sure. They were family members or extended family members who were part of the Sodality of Mary. Took the statue down, and they carried the statue up to our grandfather's ranch in Paduk, which is in Maiti right now, and that's where the statue stayed.
Did they hide her?
Oh, absolutely. They had to hide her. They hid. I mean,
because they knew the importance of the statue.
Oh,
they knew
absolutely.
definitely. And there were other times. This must have been really disconcerting. The times that she'd been stolen.
Oh my God, Mom. If ever Mom mourned, if ever I heard my mom like in total
wailing, crying, just wow.
distress, was when Santa Maria was stolen for that first time, and then the second time as well. But I mean, we were young then, but it was a total freak out. I mean, we saw my mother just crumbling, and we knew that there was this, horrible loss. And then when we found out that it was Santa Maria that had been taken, that was just like unfathomable. But when she was found, the celebration, because we all ran to the chancery, to the bishop's residence where she had been taken.
That was the first time.
That was the first.
The second time she was taken to the cathedral.
Cathedral, right?
Yes.
And she was stolen from the cathedral.
She was stolen.
Now she's had that niche up there for all of these years.
Yes.
Now, lest you think that that's
She's
inaccessible,
secure.
it is. There's layers of security that you cannot get through. So
Yes.
on this day, let's work through here, because there are a lot of people who are involved in the logistics that also, like you said, have this devotion to her by families,
Yes.
right? Okay.
For example, Auntie Tina Perez's family.
Yeah.
Auntie Tina has always been a devotee of Santa Marian Kamalen, and she was always part of what they called the flower girls at the church. Bishop Flores used to call them the flower girls, and that name stuck. Even though they were like 80 years old, they were still flower girls. But they always took care of the flowers in the church, and they took care of Santa Marian Kamalen's carroza. Okay,
which
Now
is a cart that
cart,
she's
yes.
affixed to, right?
To process
through
yes.
again. Okay,
Right.
so
But first and foremost, I think it's very important to put this into the total context. Santa Maria belongs to everybody.
Right.
She is the patroness of the Mariana Islands, and to all who believe in her. So everybody is welcome to celebrate and show their love for her in various ways. But there are families who have been doing certain things related to the procession for decades. So, for example,
well, let's start off.
the Tanakas.
Okay.
The Tanakas provide the flowers for the carroza on an annual basis,
Okay.
and in the church. So that's their promesa, and they've done that for generations. The Antitina and her family, her granddaughter now, Rochelle, is part of the ladies who help to prepare the carroza and celebrate Santa Maria that way. There are the Gumatauto family, for example, has always taken care of the damas. They used to recruit the damas and help them with their dresses and their hair pieces and so on. Now there's so few of them remaining that they've shared that responsibility with Monica Frankis and June Regalado. Have been recruiting, but June is sick this year, so we tried a little bit of a different strategy for recruiting damas this year. We invited all the parishes to send representatives.
Oh, that's nice.
And the damas are now a little older, so in Hannah's day, she was a baby. She was barely walking when she became a damas, and in my day too, we were little. But now that we have the angels and the archangels, we've started the damas at 9 years old to 16 years old. So quite a few parishes responded, and the Catholic schools, several of them responded as well.
And so all of the families that have had these traditions and this devotion, not all of them, though, are in the inner sanctum, which is something completely different.
Only we are in the
Okay,
inner
so in the inner, and I speak from experience because I had once asked to document this event without pictures, and I was going purely on memory and emotion, and it was a very emotional day, starting off with the late Tony Martinez.
Yes, with Tony Martinez, and it used to be Tun Gonzalo Regis would carry her down, and then Tony took over.
In gloves.
In gloves.
Oh, absolutely,
White
you have
gloves.
to.
Yeah, in gloves.
And then Tony followed, and when Tony passed away, his son-in-law.
Joseph did it. His son Joseph did it for a
son
while.
Joey
Then
did
when
it.
he moved away, then Don, his
Don
son-in-law,
does
his
it now?
son-in-law,
Okay.
Don,
but
is
Joseph's
doing it.
back.
Okay, all right.
So
Yeah.
those are the family traditions that we
Okay.
speak of, and if we've left anybody out, certainly it's not deliberate, because everybody has a very, very special role to play, no? But once Santa Marian Kamalen is brought down, people have said, well, why do you guys have to cloister yourselves in there and be private about it? And we always say, a queen has her ladies in waiting.
That's what I remember you telling. It was
Yes.
royalty, and you don't.
A queen has her ladies in waiting,
Nobody
and a queen
sees
does
her
not
ladies.
emerge until she's ready.
Until she's presented.
Never.
But this is behind locked doors in the sacristy at the Cathedral Basilica. And how many women are in the room at a time about?
Right now, there's my
Our first
auntie.
cousins.
Yeah, the first cousin. So it's my auntie Lo and her sister, Auntie Debbie Freitas, my mom, myself, Sister Stephen, Sister Stephen's sisters, Auntie Jackie and Auntie Becky,
Carla and her daughters.
my sister and her daughters, and then our younger
Jolene.
nieces. Amara and so it's the little ones who
So we
do
have
the.
about 3 generations in the room.
In the
We
room
have
inside
about you. Yeah,
So
we have
like
3
maybe
generations.
like in the
About four-
teens, maybe.
At least 4 generations.
Okay, so in the, like in the teens,
Yeah.
are you about
Maybe
13,
15,
15?
and all the way down to little.
Yeah.
little ones.
Because
Okay.
remember, as soon as our baby's born here,
Yeah.
she's going to be.
Yes.
Hannah
she's
is going to
gonna
have a
be in the
girl,
room.
so the
She's going to be a
generation
camarera.
continues, yeah.
The next
We have
camarera.
a baby girl coming in a few weeks, and so we're building
So
up the
she's
generation.
she's a camarera in training.
Yeah, in training. So what's the process? Now I know Mrs. Gutierrez, you were in charge of her hair. So do you? It's not a complete undressing because there's not necessarily undressing of, but styling of the hair,
hair and the jewelry.
cleaning the jewelry,
And the crown.
the crown,
She changes her
and
crown.
the perfume.
And the perfume.
making sure she's
And it
I
has to
remember
be
perfume.
an oil-based
Yeah.
perfume. We know
Because of
nothing
the
alcohol because
statue.
of the paint.
Yeah.
So the little ones, they take her jewelry off, and the jewelry she's wearing is so after she was stolen, let me just say this real quickly, when she was stolen the second time and then recovered, and it was right after my confirmation, and I had donated my confirmation earrings, and that's what she's wearing, and plus my mom's
necklace.
I happened to be wearing a necklace that morning, and I
we just kind of like
when
took
she was
our-
found.
and when she was found, we took our jewelry off and put it
That's
on
the
her.
thing. You know, when Sister Callista passed away, I inherited the Santa Marian Kamalen from the house, the Camacho house, and she had a diamond necklace on her. And I thought,
So she's
she's
a queen.
She's a queen. I mean,
What do you expect?
It is absolutely, and she's got a perfect spot,
The
you
same
know, of
thing
dominance
happened
in
when
the
we
house.
took her replica to Washington D.C.
to get
Her
enshrined there.
earrings, her earrings were missing. So
We
Sammy
forgot
had
the
given
earrings and
me-
the necklace, so
Sammy
we were
had given
taking.
me, you know, a
yeah.
pair for my wedding, and I gave them to Santa
And so
Maria.
We were
that's-
taking
right
things
there
off
and
to
there.
make sure that she was
Yeah,
properly
that's
clad.
improvise.
But that day though, so we take off the crown that she wears throughout the year, and we put on her special crown
Special
that
crown.
she wears that day. And
Oh, it's a different
It's a
crown.
different crown.
Oh,
yes.
bejeweled. Wow. Well, we unfortunately we only have a minute left. I just really want to just quickly, you know, this year, things are happening in our world. You're about to have your third child. You know, you've grown up around this environment. What do you hope for? What are you looking for?
when she's dressed and we all gather around her, we hold hands as a family, we pray, and it's always just for peace in the family, peace in the church, peace in the island, and peace in the world. And that's really the prayer
Just peace and love.
Yeah.
that we all, you know, tears streaming down our face.
It's hard not to. I got to tell. I mean, it's
Yeah.
already happening here.
All our eyes are
I know, all of our, well, because it is something. It is something. We have a connection, and that's the most important thing. But hundreds and hundreds of people come and show, thousands of people, to show their devotion, particularly women who are, like I said, that are suffering, and they quietly stand and pray. It's just amazing. So,
But it's amazing how many men too
yeah.
are just, you know, they come up to us. Cosinyo patsa si Santa Maria, Cosinyo quintusi si Santa Maria. Of course, she's ours. She's our mother. I mean, and people who don't understand this devotion will never understand the emotion that we feel toward her.
Yeah.
Because people will say, well, she's such a statue. She's a representation of our Lord's mother.
Right. Right. Did you want to finish off with something?
Where?
Okay. Thank you guys so much. I really appreciate it. This was a crying moment. Well, we will see you on December 8th, and again at Cathedral Basilica, beginning at what time? Usually in the
procession
afternoon.
is at 4. It starts with the gospel, and then the
The
procession.
novena will be at
3:30.
the rosary is at 3, and the
Novena's
novena's at
3:30. Then the procession starts at
And then
4.
she's there all throughout the, through the night, and so people
And
can
it's
come and
amazing,
visit the
Patty,
entire.
how even after everything is done, people sit
Still-
and wait in the church for us to come
I've seen
and
that.
take the carroza apart so
nine.
they
They
can
don't
take
leave
the
until
flowers.
she leaves.
And that's like 10 o'clock at night.
Yeah, I've
sometimes.
seen that. I've seen that. Thank you very much.
Yes,
Merry Christmas to
Same to you. It's been a
Thank you
great
so
day.
much.
Santa Marian Kamalen.
Thank you so much for joining us here on Something to Talk About. See you next time.